The week of the Super Bowl is a time for America's most popular sports organization to take stock of itself. At his annual news conference this week, Commissioner Roger Goodell addressed the NFL's diversity hiring practices, expanding its regular season and the possibility of placing a team outside of the United States. Goodell also said the league has made improvements on player safety, which includes what he says is a reduction in one of the most common and most serious injuries. Dr. John LaPook joins us now with more. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Collisions in football can trigger much more than a headache. Blows to the head can cause not only concussions, but chronic traumatic encephalopathy and permanent brain damage. To make the game safer, the National Football League is enacting new rules, encouraging more player awareness of the dangers and implementing better technology.
In the AFC Championship 2 weeks ago,
he gets hit by his teammate.
Buffalo Bills cornerback Christian Benford was sidelined after suffering a concussion. In tomorrow's Super Bowl, Philadelphia star offensive tackle Jordan Mailata will try to avoid the same fate.
The headbutts are common. They're going to happen. It's what happens in the trenches.
He's hoping a new generation of helmets helps keep him in the game. As Chief Medical Officer for the NFL, neurosurgeon Dr. Alan Sills helps lead the effort to reduce concussions.
Some of the most common symptoms we see are headache or disorientation, perhaps problem with memory. Sometimes people are a little bit unsteady. In rare instances, people can lose consciousness.
In 2015, the league began teaming up with helmet manufacturers to try to build safer equipment.
Can you simply describe how the older helmet was versus the newer one, why the newer one's better?
I think if you look at a helmet from, say, 20 years ago and compare it to today's helmet, there's several major changes. We have materials that do a better job at absorbing force and not transmitting that force to the brain, which is obviously what's of interest inside the helmet. We've got better padding inside there. It's placed strategically within the helmet in different places, based again on where we expect force to occur and how we want to minimize that force. And then I think you've got better overall design in terms of the shape and the weight of the helmet.
Aside from improving equipment, the NFL has tried to decrease concussions by increasing player awareness and by changing certain rules. For example, by starting teams closer to each other and farther downfield on kickoffs to lower the odds of high-speed collisions. Jeff Miller heads up health and safety for the league.
2024 saw the fewest number of concussions on record in the NFL.
In 2024, there were 182 concussions during practices and regular season games, a 17% drop compared to the previous season. Neurologist Dr. Ann McKee is a pioneer in research showing blows to the head, even ones that don't cause concussions, can cause chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, leading to dementia.
The NFL is clearly taking this seriously. What do you think of the new helmets?
Looks like they have a lowered concussion rate, which is terrific news. Lowering the number of concussions, that means that the player is experiencing fewer hits. CTE risk is directly associated with number of playing years, how many hits you get, and how hard those hits are.
Dr. McKee is especially concerned about the risk of CTE in children and young adults getting repeated blows to the head, with or without a concussion.
When does the risk start? Are kids hitting heads when they're 8 years old?
Kids are hitting their heads when they're 5 years old. CTE doesn't happen just to professional athletes. We see CTE in teenagers and young adults, and they were playing amateur sports. So helmet technology is definitely helpful, but we have to change the culture of the hits. We have to change how these kids practice and how they play, and we have to raise the age at which kids start contact.
Dr. Sills agrees on the goal of minimizing any head trauma.
There is no concussion-proof helmet, and that's why we can never say, you're putting on a better helmet, now you're safer, go use your head any way you want to. That's the wrong message. Think of the helmets the way we do the airbags in our car or the anti-lock brakes. The best way to not get injured is to stay out of a crash in the first place.
A tough challenge in a sport where high-speed collisions are part of the fabric of the game.
And John, I think about this, and it is those collisions, forget the helmets, any contact like that, in soccer even, in these other sports, you're not
Gymnastics,
getting rid of those
there's so many.
entirely. That's the only fear, I think.
Right, the non-concussive hits.
Yeah.
And the NFL is clearly making a huge effort here. Aside from the helmets, Dr. Ann McKee, who heads up the CTE Center at Boston University, says she's really concerned about the importance of changing the culture, of increasing awareness in young people, and the rules changes. I mean, you know, the rules changes, for example, who now say in the NFL, no spearing, no directing
Makes
things
a big
towards the
difference.
heads.
Yeah.
So I think the culture change, the rule changes, and then technology.
Yeah, it is a contact sport.
Yeah, and a lot of other sports have to look at it too.